On today's episode, we're going to talk about one of my favorite German New Year's traditions. After a year like 2020, we could use a little comedy, so sit back and relax and let's talk about dinner for one. Hello, you Lieblings! I'm Mari, science fiction and fantasy author who's been living in southern Germany since 2014. Today we're going to talk about Dinner for One, an 18-minute black and white sketch that is performed in English and that has been playing on German TVs everywhere since 1972. But how did this tradition start? And why have we not heard about it in the States? Well, we'll get to that. But before we get started, hit the subscribe button and ring the bell if you haven't already. Here on Adventures of Lamadi, we talk about writing, living abroad, and everything in between. In case you're wondering what I'm drinking, it's hazelnut liqueur. It's very good. Dinner for One is a dinner party for 90-year-old Miss Sophie's birthday. She normally celebrates it with her 4 friends, Sir Toby, Admiral von Schneider, Mr. Pomeroy, and Mr. Winterbottom. But at this point, she has outlived them all, and her butler, James, has to play the part of each of the gentlemen. This includes toasting as each of them, as well as drinking their drink. You can only imagine James getting drunker, and hilarity ensues. There's a bit with the tiger, Sir Toby always wanting a little extra something in his drink. Admiral Schneider's cheering with Skål, the Swedish word for cheers. And it's very painful for James, as well as the iconic lines, "The same procedure as last year, Miss Sophie," to which Miss Sophie replies, "The same procedure as every year, James." The real kicker is that this has been shown every New Year's Eve on German television since 1972 without subtitles. Proof that these comedic elements transcend language. But what is the origin of this one act and how did it come to Germany? Well, Dinner for One was written for the stage by Laurie Wiley. The actual when is a little sketchy, but there are documents that indicate that it has been performed as far back as 1934. But in 1962, German entertainer Peter Frankenfeld and director Heinz Dunkhase watched a production of Dinner for One while in Blackpool and thought that it would be a great production to bring to Germany. The show was recorded in front of a live studio audience on July 8th, 1963, and only took one take. Of course, these are stage actors and used to performing in one take. The show had the occasional rerun until it did finally take off and became a necessary German New Year's tradition in 1972. It is so well loved across not just Germany, but other German-speaking countries like Switzerland and Austria, as well as the Scandinavian countries. Even Netflix jumped on the bandwagon in 2016 by creating their own parody, where the guests were replaced with characters from other Netflix shows. But of course, it was only shown in Netflix, Deutschland, Österreich, and Schweiz. The US saw none of this. But I think it's just the same as like Netflix Latinoamerica did a mashup of Stranger Things and La Chilindrina from the popular Latin children's show El Chavo del Ocho. So, I mean, it's very, very specific cultural references. And apparently, Germans are surprised that when they try referencing Dinner for One to English speakers like myself or like, our English friends, usually because they're met with confusion. We don't know what they're talking about. So that begs the question, why have we not heard about Dinner for One, at least in the States? In my humble and personal opinion, I think it's because we already had our own version of the Dinner for One zeitgeist in the US long before Dinner for One even premiered in Germany. So first, I have to say that a production of Dinner for One, I keep repeating this, Dinner for One, appeared on Broadway in 1953. However, the year before, 1952, was the year of the famous I Love Lucy episode, Lucy Does a TV Commercial, where she does the very same shtick that made Dinner for One so famous, the watching a person get drunker and thus funnier gimmick. But you see, that gimmick actually, as far as U.S. entertainment goes, it goes even further back than that. You see, Lucy got Lucille Ball got special permission to perform that gimmick from Red Skelton, who was another American comedian and vaudeville performer who made that gag famous as far back as the 30s. So this is what I mean by Dinner for One didn't hit its stride in the States. It came, but as a stage show, and it technically came at a time where it would have had to compete with an established television juggernaut that is the glorious and perfect Lucille Ball, who was already following Red Skelton's act. So, I mean, but also to be fair, even nowadays, I think bringing Dinner for One to American television would be hard just because of its format. An 18-minute play doesn't jive well with the established 22-minute episode that allows for 2 commercial breaks format of American television. That being said, thanks to sites like YouTube, there is a way to bring it to American audiences, and I think they would enjoy it. I mean, what's not to like? It's the exact type of comedy we enjoy, and it's in English. If you haven't seen it, I highly suggest you do. You will not be disappointed. I will link it above here somewhere so that you can experience it. And if you are already a fan, then use that same link to share it with your friends. Help educate us uncultured Americans and let us partake in this hilarious and well-loved tradition. And that's it. Thank you so much for joining me. If you're new here, please consider subscribing and give this video a thumbs up, because it lets me and YouTube know you like content like this and you want to see more. Please leave me a comment if you have any questions or if there's a certain topic you'd like to see on this channel. My space fantasy, The God Queen, is available in ebook, paperback, and hardback. I have all the links in the description below, as well as the first 6 chapters, which are free if you sign up for my newsletter. And don't forget to connect with me on social media, whether it is through Instagram, Twitter, or Facebook. And that's it. Until next year, guten Rutsch in neues Jahr. Ade.